Good evening and welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Obviously, get your comments in, guys. We're joined by tonight from Neil from the For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Obviously, this is the first meeting of the season. Our meeting early in the season was postponed due to the passing of the Queen. We literally recorded it that day, and the next day we were told the game was cancelled. So, first time two clubs have met this season. Let's get Neil in. Let's have a good old chat about the game ahead on Saturday and a 3 o'clock kickoff in a derby. First time in a long time that we've played you on a Saturday at 3 p.m.
First time in a long time we've played it on a Saturday at 3 p.m. It seems like I think you could count probably on your eyeballs. I think we've only played 2 3 p.m. starts, 3 p.m. Saturday games this year. I'm open to correction on that, but it seems like we never play 3 p.m. starts in Villa. So this is a nice one.
Obviously, we were supposed to meet at the King Power quite early in the season. I think it was about September time. We had a good chat and we were all ready to go. And then literally a day later, we were like, oh, okay, we're not going to meet at the King Power on Saturday. And God bless her soul, the Queen passed away and the game was postponed. Since then, a lot has changed at Villa. You currently sit 11th in the league, played 20, won 8, drawn 4, lost 8. Goal difference of -4 with 28 points. What's not a bad return for a poor start to the season under Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, it's a strange one because like there were so many missed opportunities at the start of the season, and for us to still be looking at being in 11th place in the league, have 28 points, and have had to be honest with you, the most unexpected run of form that we've had recently. Well, bar losing to Stevenage, obviously that wasn't in the rule book anywhere, but unexpected run of form in the league has been brilliant, and it really is down to one man. Our poor run of form was down to one man. It was pretty poor tactical play from Steven Gerrard, I must admit. You know, it was very much watching the same mistakes week in, week out. And then Unai Emery comes in and gets a result against Manchester United, 3-1 win against Man United. We never beat United, and you know, he comes in first game, beats them 3-1. Then follows it up with a win against Brighton, and we've been kind of chugging along ever since. Some days it's not pretty, as in we put 6 behind the ball and let teams try and break us down and catch them on the break. And then other days it is, you know. So he's a man who seems to have really come in, invigorated Aston Villa. He plays a tactic against the team that he's playing against, and for us Villa fans, that's refreshing because prior to that, it was very much a case of, okay, we've got plan A, and after that, it's your fault if we don't win. That's pretty much, I'd say, what the team talk was under Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, obviously, Steven Gerrard departed. You brought in Emery. What's his style of play, really? What has he changed to make you such a threat now? Because, like you said before, and you were struggling to break teams down. You weren't scoring many goals, and we went into that game at the King Power before it got postponed, and we were talking. It was the El Sacchio who was going to get sacked out of Rodgers and Steven Gerrard, who managed to keep his job for a few more weeks after that period of time. What has he actually changed to do to you? Because you haven't brought many players in. I think you've brought a striker in January from America, but that is literally about it. You've kept the core of that team together now, and you've suddenly picked up a lot of form. And how has he changed your perception of the way you were? Because obviously at the time, Steven Gerrard and you were saying to me that as two teams will be fighting relegation battle, and obviously Leicester are still stuck down there after a good bit of form before Christmas. But obviously since the World Cup, Leicester have come back with no form and no winning games, only drawn against Brighton since the return of the World Cup. But what has Emery actually done to you boys to make you more of a solid? Because you're not conceding many goals, but you're scoring goals.
That's exactly it. What's happened is he's trusted the same players essentially. Bar bringing in Alex Moreno, who a left back, and we don't know what this new striker Jean Duran is going to be like. Heavily or well thought of, should I say, and was heavily linked with the likes of Benfica, Inter Milan, Manchester United, Liverpool, and so on. So there was some teams that know the South American market that expected big things from him, and Aston Villa stole a march on them, I think, in January. A lot of what has Emery done? That's exactly it. He's put an awful lot of trust in somebody who's actually, I think it's 45 days younger than me, and that makes him 37 years of age. Will be 38 in July of this year, and that is Ashley Young. He's put an awful lot of faith in Ashley Young at right back, and Ashley Young has been nothing short of immense for Aston Villa. I mean, he just, I was not, I have had a road to Damascus moment with him. At the start of the season, I said I don't want to see him play right back. I don't want to see him left back. If he does come in, he has to come in a more advanced role and utilize his, the fact that he knows how to play the game of football. But my God, he came off the bench and anchored down the left back spot against Kevin De Bruyne. He started that game against Man City and anchored down the left back spot against Kevin De Bruyne. I think he started that game, and he absolutely just nullified him. And since then, it's like you're watching prime. I don't know. You pick a great fullback, and he's been it. He's been really good. What I'm getting at here is that Emery he's really trusted the players that we have already. He's gotten that access of Boubacar Kamara and Douglas Luiz really firing in the middle of midfield. We conceded so much possession in midfield. We conceded territory in midfield, and everything under Steven Gerrard. And I will admit, under Dean Smith prior to that, was everybody filter back as quick as possible, protect the D in front of the goals, and we gave away lots of opportunities for long shots. What we do now is we're very structured in that middle of midfield. We play two wide midfielders as opposed to wingers. So Jacob Ramsey at the weekend, and potentially John McGinn, if he's fit, or Emi Buendia will play those wider roles. And that makes it very easy for us to get narrow and get into that 6 at the back formation that we sometimes play. Specifically when we're in defense. So it's little things like that. It's structuring the team. It's the spacing between midfield has been absolutely completely different. It's been night and day. And also what he's done is he's put pace up top, and has left the club. And a lot of Aston Villa fans are still frustrated and still upset the fact we didn't really replace him in the transfer window just gone. But it seemed that he didn't work in that system because what Unai Emery has favoured has been Leon Bailey to play him up top alongside Ollie Watkins and get two forwards that are just consistently moving, consistently dragging players out of position in that instance there, and allows us to play the counter attack. So that's the two things he's done. He's really structured the midfield. He's put his faith in the back four that we have, and then also what he's done is he's kind of changed the way we set up top as well. So it's basically, we're using tactics for the first time in 12 months. It's a novel idea. It's a novel idea, Tom, to use tactics in a game, but Unai Emery seems to be doing it.
What do you think the team will be then going into the weekend?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be Emi Martinez in goals. I think you'll probably see, I'd be blown away if he dropped Ashley Young, even though Matty Cash is fit. So I'd say Ashley Young, Tyrone Mings, Konza, and if you throw up, it's either going to be Lucadine or Alex Moreno at left back. Then what we'd see in front of the left back would probably be Buendia. Then we'll have Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara in midfield, and then Jacob Ramsey. And then up top will be Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins. And I'd be pretty confident that if you were to give me a £20 note and tell me down to the bookies to put a bet on, I'd be confident we'd be coming home and we'd be eating steak later on, because that I think is going to be the team. I don't think we don't seem to deviate much from the starting team when he has all these players fit.
Couple of players obviously need to talk about. Obviously, at the time we were talking about the first game, what never happened was Tyrone Mings. Obviously, the captain had been stripped of his captaincy, and there was a lot of fans sort of not sure where to do with him. Should he leave? Should he, be knocked out the club? Should he be put to the bench or play with the kids? Because there's a bit of a backlash to what he'd said. He's turned it round in his form at the moment. He's second to none in some ways. How's he managed to get the Villa fans back on his side? Because I know there was a lot of anger towards him at the time after his comments were made about being stripped to the captaincy.
I think the majority, to be honest with you, I think the majority of Villa fans backed him, and that was the beginning of the end for Steven Gerrard. because the Villa fans backed him, because essentially he came out and he said, "Listen, look, I would have loved to have still been captain, but if I'm not playing well and it's affecting my performances, well, then it's probably best I'm not captain." And yes, he said that he wasn't really consulted on it with Steven Gerrard. And I think most Villa fans might have had the knee jerk reaction and gone, "Oh, there's no need to air your dirty laundry." But then over time, when they thought of it, they went, "Wait a minute, there was no need for Steven Gerrard to change the captain anyway." Now the captain is actually Emi Martinez, and so we've actually changed the captain again because John McGinn has been injured, and I think it's going to stay with Emi Martinez now, and it's not as big a hullabaloo because Steven Gerrard made it a big hullabaloo by saying that if Tyrone Mings looks me in the eye and says that he's ready to play football, and this was after he dropped him for the first game of the season when we got pummeled by Bournemouth, you can't go making statements like that. Then I think that's that was the thing that caused the red mist to descend, I think, with a lot of fans.
Obviously, you let Danny Ings go to West Ham for a nice bit of money, and obviously he got injured after half an hour of their game. Not the best start for Danny Ings' career at West Ham. Obviously, it left you a little light up front. Would you feel? I know you've signed the new lad, but you've not gone and got a proven Premiership goal scorer to replace Danny Ings. And Danny Ings, for me, is everyone knows what you're going to get with him. He knows where the net is in the Premier League, and obviously, does that leave you light going into the remainder of the season? Would you feel?
Yeah, I think if we were to have brought in a striker yesterday, most Villa fans would have been really, really buoyant about this coming season. But there is this level of frustration with Villa fans at the moment, and questions, and people are wondering: is this going to be a missed chance to finish in the top half? Is this going to be a missed chance to maybe push towards seventh? Because we just don't know what we're going to get with Unai Emery. The fact that he's been making hay while the sun shines with the group of players that he has. And we're looking good for our money in these games. We're frustrating teams, which is something. Villa have had a very soft underbelly. I saw a comment there about 2014 since they came back, and 100% since the days of Martin O'Neill, we've had an incredibly soft underbelly. And the second we go down, or the second that something goes our way, we compound it. We make more mistakes, and we just look like a clown show at times. Under Unai Emery, that hasn't happened so far, outside of the Stevenage game. And the reason that I make that the distinction there is because that team had never played together before, and it was a hodgepodge team. And I'll be honest with you, we need to hope that Emi Martinez never gets injured, because our sub goalkeeper Robin Olsen, he's bad. I mean, he's bad. So there is a lot to take away from that. But as I say, another striker would have made things good. We did recall Bertrand Traore from his loan. Yeah. He was on loan in Turkey. We recalled him. He is going to be that auxiliary striker / winger that interchangeability that we're going to have up top. But, as you say, Danny Ings is the closest thing we had to a proven Premier League striker. He was our top scorer this year, and we let him go. We didn't really replace him. Now we're all crossing our fingers to hope that John Duran, this new Colombian kid that's come into Villa Park, we're hoping that he can have maybe a Christian Benteke-like effect when Christian Benteke was with Aston Villa. And if that's the case, we won't remember Danny Ings. But if it's not the case, we'll all be wondering why we sold Danny Ings. And that's the fickle life of a football fan, I suppose.
And then one on a pro, he interests me. And I watched your game versus Wolves, and he went through one-on-one round of the keeper and then fluffed his lines. And then at the end, he was crying. I've never seen a player cry because he missed a one-on-one in the 90th minute to win the game. Leon Bailey, interesting thing about this kid. He looks the real deal at times, but his form can be very hit and miss. But when he's on form, it's beautiful to watch. He's a very, very good footballer, and his skills and ability is there. But I think your fans will probably say more than any that he lacks the consistency to play every week.
100%. If he gets to the right hand side of the box and cuts in his left leg, and if the defender is giving him 6 yards in front, it's going in the top corner. But like that, as you say, if he runs the goalkeeper and it's on his right leg, he might fluff his lines. It was a funny one. A lot of Villa fans pointed in him after that as well, because it was a case of, what are you doing crying? There was an actual story behind that. He, number one, yes, he missed it. He was emotional after that. But the biggest thing was one of his There was a lady by the name of Steffi Gregg, who was a Jamaican influencer. It was her birthday, and they were best friends and or best mates. And I think last minute winner against Wolves, if you pop it in, and if he had the shirt underneath and everything for Steffi Gregg, I think that was just it. He was like, "Oh my God, I blew my chance to highlight our plight of somebody who passed away tragically." So there was something that I think he came out and he alluded to that as well in some comments afterwards. But yeah, as I say, he can do the sublime and he can do the ridiculous, and consistency is going to be the big thing for him, because when we played Leeds recently, which was the next Premier League game after after that Wolves game, he scored in the first 2 minutes and he was brilliant throughout the rest of the game. He is really a confidence player. If he gets his tail up early on, he's a completely different player than if he doesn't, and if he's stifled early on. He can get inside his own head from that point of view. But he's still learning the Premier League. Missed an awful lot of last year with injuries, and I would say so far he's had an awful lot more positive than he's had negative in his play for sure.
Right then, mate, it's your time. Predictions. What do you think your boys will do at the weekend? Obviously, I'm going to Villa Park on Saturday. I am more looking forward to it now than I was looking forward to it. I think the signing that Leicester have made has boosted the ranks in Tete, Suter, and obviously, Christensen, the left back, who looked very good when he came on against Walsall. Obviously, Leicester fans are heartbroken today and mortified of the Mark Kevin Albrighton going across to the Black Country and putting on a West Brom shirt. Devastating news, because never did I think he'd play for another football club after he left Leicester, and he's gone to your rivals in some ways, and said, "Oh, I'll go and play for them now for a bit." And seeing that he's a Villa fan, it was a strange move at the time. But what do you think, mate? What's your obviously Leicester's form is very, very bad at the moment, and the draw against Brighton again, another 88th or late to equalise, really dented the confidence. Scrape through, we'll save that. Obviously, it was a scrape through versus Walsall into the next round. I'm not having it at 28 shots and 10 on target. It doesn't make any difference. We put the ball in once and it was a deflection. It wasn't the greatest performance. If we come back with a point, I'll be very happy. I think you boys will be going into the game with a lot of confidence after the last few weeks, bar the Stevenage debacle, and that's the only thing we can rely on. That hopefully you have one of those days.
Yeah, I'm with this Aston Villa team under Unai Emery. What I've seen so far, and look, I'm very willing to have a blow up in my face. We're set up to win 1-0. That's what we're set. No matter who we play, we're set up to win 1-0. And it's kind of like, for any of your older fans that are older listeners that are out there, when George Graham was over Arsenal and when Arsene Wenger first came in, they used to sing 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Yep.
Like, we're very close to 1-0 to the Villa at this stage, the way that we set up. So I would imagine, even though we're going to be at home, we're going to be tough to break down in defense. We're not going to absolutely go hell for leather. Well, that's actually wrong. We will go hell for leather first 10 minutes. If things don't go our way, we will retreat for a while and try and catch you guys in the break. So it may not be one for the ages at Villa Park at the weekend, but I would say, as I say, I'm always going to be until Unai Emery proves me wrong, or this team starts to prove me wrong. I always feel that we can win 1-0 under Unai Emery, and that's what I'm going to go for. Aston Villa 1, Leicester 0.
As always, Neil, thank you so much for coming on night and having a chat with us. Much appreciated your time as always. I would say good luck, but it's not even a rivalry. But obviously, being in the Premier League is a rival, because we haven't got many others, and Forest don't really think we're a rival anymore. So we've got to cling on to someone, eh? Exactly. Thank you as always, mate. And we'll catch up. Well, we'll catch up on the return leg at the King Power. We've still got to play, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Thanks so much for having me on, and a safe trip to Villa Park at the weekend.
Cheers, bud. See you later now. And there we go. Neil from the Love of Paul McGrath. Obviously, guys, as always, thank you for coming on tonight. Always great to have your comments here. It's always great to get stuff and saying what we're going on about. Obviously, transfer window shut now, and the team is what the team is. And I said earlier, I'm gutted that Mark's Albrighton's gone. I absolutely cannot get my head around the situation. I understand he wanted to leave. What's fair play? He deserves at 33 to go and play football, unlike some centre backs who can't be bothered. And I'm not having the whole thing, my wife's pregnant and all that, doesn't rub off on me. You're a professional footballer. You should be going to play football and wanting to play football, not just sit getting paid X amount of money. We move to Saturday, and for me, another crucial game. We need to get 3 points. I'd be happy with a point before we go in because Villa's flying. Villa are flying, but take a point before we get there. No brainer, Tom. Well, yeah, for me, the team picks itself Saturday. I want to see Christian. I want to see Tete, and if we go in with them two boys into the starting lineup, it's going to be a massive leave. I don't see the young lad starting from Stoke. I think Daniel Amati will keep his place in this team. I don't think Harry would have had enough time to get used to how we play and get used to our tactics to be chucked in. Obviously, Christian Son should start in left back for me over Thomas after these performances at Walsall. His cameo 20 minutes, he looked 10 times. He's class compared to Thomas being over the last few weeks, and we all know Thomas next season needs to get out and get a loan in the Championship to bolster up. But for now, thank you for joining us, and remember, keep it all Leicester Fan TV. Good night.